legends? It's your old mate Jim here from Jim Does SuperCoach. Time for our Week 4 wrap of NFL Supercoach, and what a week it was. Disaster on Team Jim. I'll tell you what, it was brutal. So what we're going to do, as we always do here on Jim Does SuperCoach, we're going to go through all of the top performers at every position. We're going to talk about, some of the big surprises, some of the big flops, how our rookies and our cash cows are doing, and of course the big one, our trade targets. Now obviously the biggest news this week has to do with injuries. It sucks. It's a part of fantasy, but wow, pour one out for owners of Lamar Jackson. Maybe. We still don't really know what's going on with Lamar, but still. And then of course, the big ones. Tyreek Hill just disintegrates his knee, which is horrible. And Malik Nabers. Jackson Dart comes on for the Giants, looks awesome, and Malik Nabers does his knee before the half, and it's just brutal gear. So, bit of a rough one, but look, onwards and upwards when it comes to Supercoach, when it comes to fantasy, we just have to try and persevere, don't we? So, we'll go through all the things as we usually do, but how did we go this week, Jim? Not great, as I said. Lamar Jackson, Malik Nabers, that absolutely crashed my team with the captaincy on Lamar as well. Figured he'd sort of put up a pretty good fight against the Chiefs. That didn't happen. He leaves with the injury and ends up with 22. So I finished with a 455 overall. Puts me in the top 49% for the week. Drops my season rank all the way down to 2,100. Not great. Absolutely brutal. Overall, still ranked in the top 7% though. So let's try to get that back up. We'll talk about the trades I'm going to make at the end of this one. So if you look at the league-wide sort of average this week, it's essentially where I'm at, right? So as I said, I'm ranked in the top 49%. It's bang on right there, around 459. The comp average for the season's around 410, but the week 4 top 5% average is at 579. So I'm pretty off the pace there this week. And you look at the overall average total is 1943 for the top 5%. I'm off that by about, 60 odd. So got a bit of work to do, but we can get there. You look at some of the top teams this week, they had some really interesting points of difference as well. A lot of folks I saw had Patrick Mahomes as one of their QBs. Obviously, Josh Allen still had a really good game too. So a couple of those little pods made a really, really big difference this week, especially with some of the ranking jumps. With those pods, they've gone absolutely bang this week and jumped absolutely sky high. So keep that in mind when we are building out our teams. The players that you like, just go with them. If you think they've got really good matchups, go hammer and tong. So my trades this week, how did they wash out? So you might remember last week's show, talking about Jonathan Taylor in for Bucky Irving. Thought he had a higher ceiling. Get to that in a second. And the other one was Puka Nacua. We got rid of Jamar Chase. That worked out a treat. So Puka ends up with 59. Chase had 9. So we're plus 50 already in that trade. The one that breaks your heart is Jonathan Taylor finishes with the 24. Bucky Irving had 45, including that awesome catch and carry for a big touchdown at the end of that Tampa Bay game. But Jonathan Taylor also had a 55-yard touchdown negated and called back due to a stupid hold from his teammate Adonai Mitchell, who cost his team 14 total points on the ground this week. That would have been another 23 points for Jonathan Taylor and been a huge turnaround for my team, right? So you think about that. You add another 23 to Taylor. He would have been at 47, outscoring Bucky Irving. We would have been a huge net positive. As it is, we're still a pretty decent positive after those trades last week. I'll take that. Amazingly, Adonai Mitchell also sank Danny Dimes, who was also on my team as a flex. Danny Dimes had a touchdown that he threw to Adonai Mitchell. A bit of a carry after it, though. So a big catch, happy days. And, of course, Adonai Mitchell fumbles the ball out of the end zone before crossing the line, negating a touchdown for Danny Dimes, which would have made his day feel a lot better of 32 versus the 24 that he ended up with. So for this week, look, had the 26th and 27th ranked QBs. Absolutely brutal with Lamar Jackson going down with his 22. Just really tough gear, obviously. At least I had the C on him, so it wasn't a complete brutality disaster. The thing is, I had Puka Nacua as my vice captain with 59. That's pretty good. It would have been handy to have that captain. But either way, you've also got Danny Dimes underperforming, 24. Not great. But I had the number one running back in Ashton Genty, as did a lot of other people. 50% of coaches have got Genty, I think. It might even be a bit more. I had 3 of the top 8 running backs with Amari Hampton and McCaffrey. 4 with in the top 15 because Gibbs snuck in there. Jonathan Taylor ended up 22nd, but as I said, if he hadn't had that stupid holding penalty against Mitchell, would have been a very different day. I had the number one wide receiver as well, and Puka Nacua. Great trade, love that. Love his matchup as well this week too, so we'll get to that in a second. 2 of the top 8 wide receivers, Egbuka was really good. That big catch that he had against the Eagles was very handy. JSN and Nico Collins, a little bit whelming, 25th and 27th ranked wide receivers this week. Tight ends, one of the top 4 wide receivers I had on my team, Taylor Warren, but I didn't actually start him because I had McBride and Bowers on the field, thinking the Bowers might have a pretty decent game against the Bears. Didn't happen. McBride was also a bit Tyler Loop he was the top 17th kicker. So look, one of the toughest spots I also had this week was Atlanta, my defense special teams, thinking they'd do okay-ish against the Mariota Commanders. They did. They only managed 8 points though. So whereas the New England Patriots going up against Carolina, my plan was eventually to switch them out. I didn't end up doing it. They had 22. And so that's another 14-point swing that I could have definitely used to help me up the overall rank. So who were the best performers at every position this week, Jim? Let's start at QB. Yeah, Dak Prescott was 61. He was fantastic. I'm going to talk about Dak a fair amount later on. Patrick Mahomes had 54, same as Matt Stafford. That was the thing. We're going to start talking about targeting specific teams, especially the QBs, wide receivers, etc., who have very, very, very throwable upon secondaries. Stafford and Prescott basically just went ham on a couple that were, at least with Stafford going up against Indy, we know that that's pretty easy to do. Dak having that high of a score going up against the Green Bay Packers was pretty crazy, but he did run in for a touchdown. But either way, Mahomes, very solid with his 54. Justin Fields had 54 as well. Continues to be a really good option because of his legs. He had that awesome scramble touchdown. He did. Bo Nix rounds out the top 5 with 53. Josh Allen, 51, same as Jordan Love. Drake May and Carson Wentz both had 46. Sure. Mayfield and Michael Penix round out the top 10 at 39. Jalen Hurts sneaks in just after 38. For the running backs, Ashton Genty, I called this one. The breakout week was here. He ends up with 3 touchdowns, 2 receiving ones actually, which is pretty interesting. 64 total points for him against the Bears. Josh Jacobs had 59. He's on a bye. Same with Kenny Gainwell, who popped in for Jalen Warren. 0.9% owned. Jeez. But that figures, right? Jalen Warren. It's a 12:30 our time morning start. No one was going to pop him on there, were they? 56 for Gainwell. 52 for Bijan. He popped off again, which was good to see. They're now, of course, on a bye. Justice Hill had 52 as Baltimore were trying to just do anything against KC. And Woody Marks, the rookie, 51. We're going to talk about him later. Amarian Hampton, also a rookie, 49. McCaffrey, 45. Same as Bucky Irving. And James Cook rounds out the top 10 with 41. The rookie, Quinshon Judkins at 38. The wide receivers, we've got Puka Nacua at 59. He was unreal against Indy, an absolute target monster. We knew that. George Pickens is another one. CD Lamb goes down. Dallas go, let's just throw the ball to Pickens. Bang! 58. Romeo Dobbs had 3 touchdowns, ends up with 53 and a giant helmet. 45 for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Drake London and DK Metcalf both had 42, both on a bye this week too. Doesn't really help us. Quinton Johnson, there you go. He had 39. Egbuka had 34. Justin Jefferson pops back up with 35, and Garrett Wilson had 34, same as Marvin Mims. That's your sort of top 10 for the wide receivers. Tight end, Dallas got it. A couple of nice little shovel passes there, got him to 35 points. Darren Waller comes from the absolute clouds and has 32. Kyle Pitts, he's alive. 31 points for him. He's on a bye, of course. Tyler Warren had 31 too. Jake Ferguson, we noted this one last week, right? Without CD Lamb there, he'd be a very good option. He was 27 points this week. The rest of the tight ends, Hunter Henry with 21. And then outside of that, it's a bit of a dart throw, right? Trey McBride had 17. Brock Bowers 14. If we go to the kickers, always a crazy one. Chase McLaughlin, right? Had the crazy longest kick outside in NFL history. But Cairo Santos top score with 38. 36 for Matt Gay. McLaughlin with 32. Myers had 28 in a game winner back on Friday Morning Football. 26 for Jake Bates and Harrison Butker as well. Tyler Loop is owned by 54% of us. 18. Not bad. Not bad, but also not great. Defense, special teams. Always. Talk about dart throws. The Detroit Lions up against the Browns at 38. My beloved Patriots had 34 this week. Why did I have them written down as 22? How did that change? What's going on here? That is weird, actually, now that I look at it. That changed dramatically. That was weird. It was listed as 22 before. Now it's 34. That makes it even worse that I didn't start them against the Falcons. Feels like these rankings are changing as I'm looking at them. What's going on? Anyway, the Jags had 30, the Texans 28, the Eagles 24 against Tampa Bay. Block and return a field goal again. Seahawks 22. They're an interesting one against Tampa Bay this week. Broncos only managed 20, but just killed Cincinnati. So I wonder if that'll change. But anyway, there you go. What are the big surprises? Obviously, Kenny Gainwell with his 56 against Minnesota in Ireland. Tiddly-tee. Justice Hill, 52. Woody Marks, 51. Looks like the running back number one now for Houston, right? But the 51 40 Marks, just if you haven't added him in draft, I'd be all over that, just saying. Wentz managing 46 despite being sacked 5 times, always pretty funny. And Justin Jefferson had 35. Good bounce back overseas for him. Dobbs having 53 with 3 touchdowns. Look, it just goes to show you need to target wide receivers playing against Dallas. Just really simple. Matthew Golden was solid in that game too as well, but like it feels like Green Bay play a little bit of roulette with their wide receivers. Like this week you get a touchdown, next week it's you get a touchdown. It's either Romeo Dobbs or it's Dontavian Wicks or it's Tucker Kraft, and we're just waiting for Matthew Golden to go off. But anyway, the rookies, how did they go this week? The big ones, Genty had 64, called that breakout. I called the breakout. I feel pretty good about that. Went up 2.8 mil. Amari Hampton rose another 3 mil, had with his 49 points. Judkins did as well, 3.1 million. He had 38 for the Browns. Trevion Henderson had 22. RJ Harvey had 35. He had a really good late receiving touchdown that helped his score. Bill Krosky-Merritt had only, I think he's got a break even of about 3. But in terms of the actual Bill Krosky-Merritt experience, he's not really sort of helping us too much. He had 13 points this week. Scudaboo at 23, and I like his, usage for the next couple of weeks as they integrate Jackson Dart a bit more into that offense and probably try to spare him a few of those hits that he copped this week too. So the biggest flops. We'll also talk about some of the cash cows in a second, but that's like the sort of top end rookies that we're looking at. The biggest flops, obviously, Jamar Chase with 9 points. Malik Nabers, 6 points before he got injured. That one hurts a lot. Lamar Jackson had the 22 before he left as well. Ladd McConkey, only 3 points as Quentin Johnson keeps carving it up there. They had just a really rough game to the Chargers going east from west to play the Giants. McConkey, I'm happy to sort of see his price drop, because we might jump on him a little bit later in the season. A.J. Brown had 3 points and some cryptic tweets. Just the entire Philly offense. I'll talk about them in a second. Trey Tucker had 5 points. He's owned by 6.5% of us, but still got some money to make. Derrick Henry had 13 points. Just not enough carries there as they were chasing the Chiefs. Chase Brown had 17. I mean, that's 2 of the top 20 RBs, top 20 percentage owned RBs who were very quiet. 13 and 17 for Henry and Brown. Jonathan Taylor had the 24 points as well. 30 for Saquon. They're not massive flops, but they could have had bigger days, right? Saquon was only managing, 2 and a bit yards per carry. Bit of a tough one. How about the Jacksonville receiver room? Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. Brutal gear there. Brian Thomas with 15, Hunter with 11. They've been wildly whelming. Zay Flowers at 21, Troy Franklin 15, a couple of cash cows there, helping us make a little bit of cash if you've got them. Otherwise, not really showing us too much. For the tight ends, Brock Bowers had the 14. He's very clearly injured, playing through it. Hopefully he has a big bounce back this week. Ingram with 9 points as well. Mark Andrews had 13. And the defense special teams, how about Baltimore and Green Bay managing a -6 each? Brutal. Absolute brutality from the defense special teams there. The biggest worries that we've got after this week, obviously injuries. This is where having as many trades as we've got in Supercoach makes it a bit easier. We can side swap, we can downgrade, we can try to make a bit more cash if we want to. But the injuries to Lamar, to Malik Nabers, to Tyreek Hill, it's brutal because there will be some teams out there that have all 3 of them. The cool thing is we can at least boost to get those trades used. Obviously, one of the other big worries is Cincinnati, that entire offense. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Chase Brown. With Jake Browning as their QB, they've all got to go. Like, unless Cincy make a trade for a QB, and who knows what they're going to do because they're cheap, I'm steering clear of all of them until Jamar will bottom out, and if they go and get like a gunslinging QB like Jameis Winston or somebody, we'll look at him a little bit further down the track, but for now, see ya. The Jags, Travis Hunter and Bryce Thomas Jr., big worries in terms of fantasy and Supercoach. They're breaking your heart. Philly, that passing offense, maybe Saquon as well, they're still winning games. They're 4-0. They're not worried about fantasy points and Supercoach points, but we are. Right? A.J. Brown, he'll probably have another big bounce back next week as they probably try to feed him. Just keep an eye on that. He's still going to keep bottoming out in price. How about Houston's offense? C.J. Stroud looked a little bit better this week, but they were playing the Titans. The first half was horrible. Nico Collins kind of got going a little bit, but the ceiling just isn't that high at the moment for this Houston offense. It's just CJ, I think, is kind of warming into the season. We'll see how they go this week. They've got a really banged up Baltimore, so they might be okay. They just keep an eye on them. Brock Bowers is a big worry. He was the number one tight end with a bullet last year. If Geno Smith stops throwing interceptions, it might help because then Brock would have a chance to catch a ball. But he and McBride both have great matchups actually this week, so it's a bit of a wait and see for me. And Washington, with Jaden Daniels sitting out last week, Mariota popped up. Wasn't too bad against Atlanta, but certainly wasn't as good as he was the week before. No Terry McLaurin at the moment. I'm just kind of a little bit leery of all things Washington at this point. The Cleveland offense is just a mess, apart from Quinshon Judkins. Minnesota, Justin Jefferson, very, very solid, of course. Wentz, it's just... J.J. McCarthy coming back at some point, it feels very middling, this entire Vikings offense. So I'm probably not even in the Jordan Addison business at this point. Jordan Mason, though, has looked very solid. Just really wish he'd scored us a touchdown this week. He didn't quite get there. Keep an eye on Minnesota. Right, the cash cows that we're watching for week 5. In the QB department, Jackson Dart's only played the one game. He's already got a break even of -22, so keep an eye on him for next week. If you want to jump the gun, it's probably fine as a backup. It might depends on if you just want to use the trade this week or not. Carson Wentz got a break even of 1. JJ McCarthy's a -36. They will probably switch places in the next 2 weeks anyway, so I'd steer clear of that. Michael Penix has a break even of 7. Not bad. He's priced at, 10.7 mil? So still not a bad option, Penix, but he's a bit of a roller coaster ride. There's better options out there. Stafford's got a break even of 13 this week on an $18.3 million price point. And Dak Prescott, look out, break even of 16 this week, playing the Jets. I'm going to talk about Dak a fair amount later on. 19.9 million. If you want to go from Lamar to Dak, I'm just saying it might not be a bad idea. Cam Ward's got a break even of 2. He's at $7 million after a 10-point outing last week. Ooh, that Tennessee team is pretty horrible. We're still, if we want to go from Cam Ward and cash out on him down to Jackson Dart at some point, it's probably going to be the next 2 weeks. He's probably a good switching point in week 6 rather than this week, week 5. So, because that way we'll have another price right. We'll at least have another price point for Jackson Dart. And Cam Ward is probably topping out-ish. We don't know with that Tennessee team. Drake May, break even 26. He's over 20 million already. He's got a tough one this week against Buffalo, but he's been super solid, surprisingly. For the running backs, your cash cows. Amari and Hampton still. If you don't have him in your team, what are you doing? Break even to -42. He had a 49-point outing this week, went up 3.1 mil. Basically, he could go up another 3.5 mil this week if he just goes bang. Chargers got an interesting matchup too. Don't mind Hampton this week on field. I had him on my bench, and it might be a point where he actually sort of slots on there, depending on how I feel about Genty this week. Obviously, Genty, last week his break-even was 6. He had 64. Very handy. Break-even now with -31 at 8.8 mil. Could go up another 2.7 million this week. Other running backs who are basic massive cash cows. Kenny Gainwell, break-even to -34, but he's priced at 7.6 mil, and he's on a buy, so we're steering clear of him. Quinshon Judkins is the big one. I mentioned this earlier, $7.3 million. He's got a break even of -30. Could go up another 2.6 million this week. He looks fantastic, and he's like the only good part basically about this Cleveland offense. It's crazy how good he is. They've got a tough matchup, Minnesota in London. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Judkins, though, with the -30, you feel okay if you're going to bring him in. Maybe the swap from Henderson to Quinshon Judkins. Judkins is actually priced more than Henderson, but he's going to keep making a lot of money. Scatterbo, break even to -17, 9.1 mil as well. He went up 2.8. He plays the Saints. I still really like Scatterbo. And as I mentioned earlier, I really like the game script that he's going to be used a lot, I think, in that Giants, both rushing and passing attack as they try to protect Jackson Dart a bit. Woody Marks is the other one. Minus 26 is his break even. Could go up another 2.2 mil after going up 2.4 mil this week. He looks fantastic for Houston because they just need somebody to give them a little bit of pop. And I don't think it's Nick Chubb. So we're going from a Chubb to a Woody. Hooray! RJ Harvey's going to break even at minus 13. He went up 1.2 mil. He's priced at 5.2 mil after his 35. It sort of feels like there's a little bit of a change there, especially in usage rates for RJ Harvey versus J.K. Dobbins in Denver. So don't mind RJ Harvey going forward. He is sort of handily priced at 5.2 mil. Trevion Henderson and RJ Harvey are like the sort of two dudes who are stalling out-ish, but have these solid outings under their belts now and can probably only get better. So I don't mind RJ Harvey. Trevion Henderson, he had 22 this week. He's got a break even of minus 3. Bill Krosky Merritt, break even of minus 3 as well. Travis Etienne's the sort of other one. Break even is 6. He's at 12.4 mil. He had 37 this week. They do play KC this week, so I'm going to steer clear of Etienne. Wide receivers, a little bit more thin on the ground in terms of your cash cows. Luke McCaffrey, he's got a break even of minus 16. He's only at 5.3 million, but if you trust that Commanders offense to get the ball to Luke McCaffrey, cool. I don't. Trey Tucker, he's got a break even of minus 14 as well. He's still got money to make, 1.8 mil. And the Raiders play Indy. I'm just saying, target wide receivers against the Colts. The big one, though, for me, and I think for a lot of other folks this week, will be George Pickens. He's got a break even of minus 11. He's priced at 14.5 mil. I yelled about this on last week's show. He was a really good look if you believed in Dallas, or if you want to go and save a little bit of cash as you traded down from Jamar Chase or from CD Lamb. He repaid the faith. 14.5 mil now, break even to minus 11, target monster, and he'll go up 2.6 mil, it looks like, next week at least. Roman Dunze is on a buy. He's still got a break even of 17 after last week's minus 25. Egbuka still on a break even of minus 9, which is crazy, priced at 9.5 mil. Love his job security, love his role with Mike Evans still on the shelf. Godwin coming back from the injury. Egbuka is a weapon, and I love him, and he's on my field. Tyquan Thornton, break even to minus 4, now at 8 million. Xavier Worthy is back, though, now for KC. Thornton's still a bit boom or bust. And Xavier Worthy, obviously, is another one that we should be looking at. He's after playing one game. He scored 30 points. Keep him in mind. You're going to talk about him again in a second. Darius Slayton on the Giants with Nabers out is another one that you can kind of look at. Romeo Dobbs is on a buy. He's got a break even of minus 3 at 10.9 mil. And Tutu Atwell, has a break even of 0. Plays the Niners this week. He's third string there in the Rams. But if you've only got that amount of cash, Tutu Atwell is not a bad idea. And Devontae Walker, break even of a minus 11. He's on the bubble. Priced at 5 mil. His ceiling is pretty limited, I reckon, without Lamar. So maybe steering clear, but hey, that's a cash injection. Tight ends, Jake Ferguson, break even of minus 5. He had 27 this week. He was awesome. No CD Lamb. Great option, still at 9.6 million. Feeling okay about that. Hunter Henry, same sort of vibe, right? Tougher matchup versus Buffalo this week. 10.9 mil. Break even of minus 14. Went up $1 million after 21 this week. He had the touchdown. Good on him. Not too much else going on there, but they didn't really need to break him out. The big one, though, for tight ends and cash cows, Darren Waller. Played his first game for the Dolphins, scored 32. Huge red zone target for Tua. Hill goes out. Tua is going. Tua, keep going. Tua, Darren Waller. I'm not going to complain if you want to jump off Bowers and free up some cash and go to Darren Waller after that, because he's at 3.7 mil. He's going to go bang through the roof in terms of price. Tyler Warren's actually still got a break even of minus 2 after a big 31 this week. The kickers, the cash cows, look, they don't really matter so much, but there is a little bit of money out there. McLaughlin went up 860K. He's going to break even to minus 9 after 2 huge weeks. He is priced very high. Matt Gay has a break-even of minus 5 for the commies. Tyler Loop, break-even to 6, so we all feel pretty good about that. Joey Sly's got a break-even to 0, but he's priced at 10 mil. There might be 1 or 2 other kickers that hit the bubble next week that we could look at, so we'll break those down a little bit more next week. The defense special teams, the Jags have got a minus 10 break-even this week, but they play Kansas City, who look to have their mojo back a bit. Yeah, I'm going to steer clear of the Jags, I think. Detroit go to Cincy, break even to minus 5. They are my go-to this week if I'm going to actually bite the bullet and maybe make a move at defense special teams. 9.3 mil, minus 5. Cincinnati looking wildly toothless. And Minnesota have a break even of 0. They play Cleveland in London. I don't mind that as a high-priced option going up against Flacco or rookie Dylan Gabriel or somebody overseas. They'll be accustomed. They've stayed over there this week. Maybe they're a good defense, special teams. And Houston, another one. They play Baltimore this week out, maybe without Lamar. They've got a break even of 10. Oh, boy. They could have a field day. And field days as well. Like the Vikings up against that Cleveland O-line. Jeez. I'm just saying. And whoever plays, what have we got? We've got the Cincinnati team. They play Detroit. As I said, right, that could be a lot of sacks. That O-line for Cincy is horrible. So that leaves us, after a week 4 in the bag, what trades we're looking at making. Now, a bunch of us are probably going to have to make some trades due to injuries. I know I do with Lamar and Malik Nabers. If you've got Tyreek Hill, you've also got to make a move too. The ones that we're going to get off, obviously Jamar Chase is another one. Break even, I mean, he's down to, I think the break even's 84. He's down to 19.9 mil. He'll continue plummeting in price. Break even of 58 for Derrick Henry, same sort of vibe after he's 13 this week. He's down to 17 mil. I think we have to jump off both of those. All of Cincy, Chase Higgins and Brown, as I mentioned. Saquon's got a break even of 63. Bit of a tough one. Chris Godwin. I don't know if you've got him in your team, but if you do, he's got a break even of 60 after his first week back. He'll probably drop a lot in price in the coming weeks. He's got to be out. Outside of that, there's no real desperate ones unless you've got injuries and a couple of defense special teams that are going to keep absolutely dropping through the floor, right? Like Green Bay, Baltimore. I'll be jumping off them this week anyway. Green Bay's got the bye. Atlanta, I'm probably going to jump off them as well. They've got a huge break even, so I can also sit them, but I just don't like the idea of just playing the Pats defense, even though they just scored an extra 12 points out of absolutely nowhere just before, which was crazy. But anyway, who do you have to get in? The trade targets are obviously Amari and Hampton. He's going to keep making a lot of cash. Najee's out. He's a full bell cow now for a team that wants to run and have that perfect mix for the Chargers. Judkins looks incredible for Cleveland. Get him in either if you feel like that. I mean, he's a little bit cheaper, obviously. Woody Marks is probably the best target this week on the cheap side. George Pickens at 14.5 mil and the break-even to -11. He's probably one of my favorites. Puka, if you didn't bring him in last week, he's going to go bang this week, I reckon. Because you think about Puka and Devontae Adams, both of them should have a really good week against this Niners team. That their defense looks really, really, really bad. The secondary is really inexperienced, very thin, and without like a Bosa up there causing like all sorts of havoc, I think you can do a bit of damage to this Niners defense. So we're going to go Puka this week. If you haven't brought him in, jump on. He's at 21.1 mil. The 59 last week means he's just still going to keep on rising. He's a clear number 1 wide receiver in NFL Supercoach. I'm holding Brock Bowers and Trey McBride for at least one more week. 17 and 14 for McBride and then Bowers. But they've got decent matchups this week. Indy for the Raiders, who you can throw on. So if Geno just stops giving the other team the ball, maybe they go to Bowers a bunch. And the other one for McBride. Arizona play a Tennessee team that is just not very good at all. So, and I think they're at home for that. So let's go Arizona. Big McBride game incoming. So at the moment, what I'm looking at is essentially just replacing my injuries. And if we want to boost to bring in a better defense special teams matchup than my Patriots one up against the Bills and getting rid of the Falcons, who are not going to do much and probably lose cash next week. They've already made a bunch of money for me, so I'm okay with that. But at the moment, if Lamar goes out, what options do we have? It's obviously just about all of them because he's still at 29 mil. You can go to Josh Allen. It's the obvious one. I don't mind the actual New England matchup either. Yeah, their defense has been solid, but he's had 43 and 50 in 2 of his last 3 games against the Pats. He had 51 last week. He dropped 1.5 mil after a quiet week 3, so he's gettable pretty easily, right? He averages only 38 against the Patriots, but a break even of 44. The Patriots defense is pretty okay. I think they'll make a game of this, which probably actually lends itself to Josh Allen rushing a little bit more, maybe a rushing touchdown in there. Basically, as long as it's a competitive game, you know that Josh Allen's going to be trying his absolute hardest. The trap for Josh Allen is like last week against the Saints, he was very, very good, still got up to 51 and didn't have a great game, but just ended up cruising to a really good score. He could easily do that again. And on top of that, Josh Allen's schedule from here on, the next few weeks, is really good, right? They play the Pats, then they've got Atlanta, then Carolina, they play KC at home, and then Miami. I feel really good if I've just locked and loaded Josh Allen for at least the next 5 weeks. Patrick Mahomes is another good one. 22.3 mil. He plays Jacksonville on the road this week. Monday Night Football, he'll love to carve them up. 44, 63, and 54 in his last 3 against the Jags. Not bad. Then he's got 3 games at home. Detroit, rough one, but then the Raiders, who do actually play the Chiefs pretty tough. We know that. Then Washington, and then Buffalo on the road in Denver. So I probably like Josh Allen's schedule a little bit more. Juzzy Herbs, he plays Washington at home. Big bounce back moment for him. I think he'll go really well. But the Chargers, week on week, without the rushing, it sort of feels like his ceiling is pretty high, but his floor can also just worry you a little bit. Jalen Hurts, the Eagles this week, their matchups, they play Denver. So I just don't really want to jump on the Hurts train right now until they've maybe figured out a little bit of this passing game. He went 0 of 8 in the second half this week. So I'm just a little bit leery of Jalen Hurts. Jared Goff plays Cincinnati this week. He's at 23 mil as well. Don't mind that. That's a pretty good one. It's a bit of a stopgap, though. I feel like you could either go Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, or Dak Prescott. Here we go. 19.9 mil. Plays the Jets this week. They let Miami look awesome this week, did the Jets. So don't mind that. But then Dak has Carolina, Washington at home, Denver, Arizona at home, and then the Raiders. I love that schedule. He ran in a touchdown this week that boosted his price, boosted his score up a bit, right? He gets to 61. But with the amount that they're airing it out to Ferguson, to Pickens, he's looked really, really good. So he is one of the very top 2 options in my mind for Josh Allen, Dak Prescott to replace Lamar Jackson. Jaden Daniels, once he comes back, maybe. Jalen Hurts, once, I don't know, we sort of see something after this week perhaps. But yeah, at the moment, for me, it's Allen and Dak. And the Malik Nabers one, I'll be trading him out for either Amon-Ra St. Brown or George Pickens. Both great matchups. Amon-Ra's got Cincinnati this week. Denver smoked him. Pickens plays the Jets, who got torched by Waddle, A-Chain, and Waller this week. So if you don't have Puka, I'd be going from Nabers to Puka and try to free up some cash, or try to get enough cash to go up to Puka, because I'd be all over Puka with that Niners secondary. Just saying. Garrett Wilson versus Dallas is a pretty interesting one as well, because I just talked about the Dallas matchup against the Jets. The same goes for the Jets against Dallas. Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson had a really good outing this week against Miami. Dallas don't scare me defensively. Do you trust Justin Fields to keep this up? Maybe. But it's not a bad matchup because that defense in Dallas is bad. And the game script, because the Jets defense is also bad, will lend itself to Garrett Wilson. And Xavier Worthy, as I mentioned, versus Jacksonville, 30 in his first game back. He is worth a look as basically the number 1 target, I reckon, from here on out for Patrick Mahomes. So Xavier Worthy is definitely worth keeping an eye on. Defensive special teams, I've also got Atlanta on the bye. So I don't know if I want to go Pats versus Bills. I don't know if using a boost to go and switch out defense special teams is really worth it. But bringing in maybe a Detroit versus Cincinnati, where you look at Detroit and how good that defense has been, that could be a keeper for a pretty long time. So maybe it is worth it. Detroit to Cincy is pretty good. Cardinals versus Tennessee, if you just want to burn a trade for possibly a really big payday, the Cards could go bang against the Titans. The Browns versus the Vikings as well, right? I talked about Cleveland. That is like 2 defenses that are going to go absolutely hammer and tongs on the opposing offenses. Cleveland could just demolish them, all right. Your man, the ginger, Carson Wentz. So just saying. So for the moment, option 1 for me is Josh Allen and Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's the chalky, getting the highest price possible versions who have got pretty decent matchups. I love Josh Allen's schedule from here on. Amon-Ra is just rolled Supercoach gold. We know that, especially against Cincy. He should carve him up. And then perhaps bringing in the Detroit defense as well if I want to boost. The other one is a Dallas stack. Option 2 is the Dallas stack. We go Dak Prescott and George Pickens against the Jets. Because, as I said, their next 3 weeks, Dallas play the Jets this week, then Carolina, then Washington. That could be awesome for Supercoach scoring, I'm just saying. So we could do that and still add in that Detroit versus Cincy defense special teams and still have a bit of cash in the bank. So, look, at the moment, we're probably looking at option 1. I'm not going to lie. as we've seen this week in Supercoach, having those points of difference, those pods, can make a huge, huge difference to your overall score week on, week out. And if you've got the matchups in your favor, like Dallas do, perhaps that is the better option. So at the moment, the Dallas stack is looking pretty good. And there you go. That is Jim Does SuperCoach for week 4. Make sure you subscribe to everywhere, all over the socials as well. Get around NFL Straya. Gaz and I broke down all of week 4, all the stuff that actually happened in there. NBA Straya is back as well. We'll be talking NBA Supercoach on that show all season and on this show, of course. So that's going to be really fun. Make sure you subscribe to all the shows. And that has been a really, really fun one. Chaotic week, injuries galore. This is where the coaches get super, I guess. So happy super coaching. This has been Jim Does SuperCoach.